I always had on my side Dredge, because I like cute fishing games with no lovecraftian undertones whatsoever. When I tried it for the first time, I was immediately hooked, and as usual, I decided to complete it to 100% just for your entertainment, guys. So buckle up, because we have 230 fishes to collect, more than 30 pursuits or side missions to complete, and a lot of mysteries and horrors to unveil out there in the sea. It is time to 100% dredge and try to not go insane while doing it. I began the game with my humble boat meeting the mayor, the lighthouse keeper, the fishmonger and the shipward, and each of them explained to me what's the bread and butter of dredge. Basically, I had to go out in the ocean, find fish spots, get some good material and then sell it for a profit. Every single time I navigated these cursed waters, time moved, and everyone advised me to not go out at night. Whatever I do, whatever I feel like, if I go out, do not go out at night. Someone even grabbed me by the shoulder and said, please do not go out at night. That's not unsettling. Well, either way, I kept exploring the isles in the Marrows and visited the other town, which had an old painterman and a trinket merchant. I also saw a small island in the distance with an ominous manor in the center of it, and upon arriving, a sketchy man holding a peculiar book greeted me. He was called the Collector, and after chatting for a bit, he asked me to retrieve some relics that had been lost to the sea, and in exchange, he would provide me with wonderful abilities for my ship. And thus, Dredge's main story had just begun. I upgraded my fishing rods to get coastal and shallow fish spots available, and I also went to a weird rock slab monument in which I sacrificed some cots to get a weird special rod that was good at catching aberrations. What are aberrations, you might say? I'll happily explain it to you. This is a normal fish. This is an aberration. Can you spot the difference? Well, sure, right? Because this one is fuel. Aberrations are rare variations of fish that are more expensive to sell, so this new rod we acquired will help us to make some money and catch some weird specimens. I also dredged... roll credits. I also dredged wood, metal planks and other materials to upgrade the ship, and was careful enough to not go out at night, even though my ship was really slow and I had to calculate the time it would take me to get once again to the dock. And moving through the waters was a pain in the ass as well. I also bought some crab traps to build my passive income and become the ocean's finest fish bro. So far so good, although I kept hearing stories about weird things happening out there in the ocean. Since I was now a little bit accustomed to Dredge's world, I decided to venture a little bit off the Marrows after acquiring the first relic and sail to the Gale Cliffs, finding a whole lot of fish available, the traveling merchant sailor, and a fucking leviathan that wrecked my ship each time it had a chance. I also had resolved a dispute between two brothers, and thanks to that, I could now fabricate explosives and access exclusive areas with rare fish and, most importantly, the next relic the collector needed. I also started venturing a little bit into the night to get the nighttime fish, and to be honest, things stopped being as cozy as they were. Those warnings were fair and square. I started seeing weird things, ghost ships, rocks that were only my head, and pairs of eyes lurking in the darkness of the ocean. It was a bit scary, but I was probably imagining it. I went back to the collector, gave him the relic, made some money, upgraded my ship, and then I set sail to the next region, called the Stellar Basin, in which I met a cool scientist that wanted to see some fish species just because. I also helped the beggar return home, and overall kept going through the game at a good pace. The Stellar Basin was a sort of peaceful tropical bay with lots of bioluminescent jellyfish, abyssal creatures only certain rods could get, an old fortress, and did I tell you about the giant tentacles attacking you from the center of it? Oh, I didn't. Oh well, then that's my bad. Yeah, there are fucking giant tentacles that attack you if you get too close, and they destroy your ship. And the relic is at the center of it. Okay. Well, I fished as much as I could in the area trying to get everything, and since I wasn't sure about how to defeat the giant beast that was guarding the relic and lurking behind, I went to other islands and regions to do some side pursuits. getting a lot of books, which are passive bonuses that you get for completing missions, and also special pieces of equipment. After quite some time, I returned to the Stellar Basin and catch the remaining species of fish the scientist wanted to see, and thus she told me how to activate a special beam that distracted the giant beast for a while, and with that, I managed to steal the relic and return to the collector to get a new ability. Yeah, I know I haven't talked about them, but we'll talk about them later, because they involve so many trophies for this game and so many stuff that it will become important at another time in the video. While navigating through the cursed waters of Dredge, I also encountered a weird fish spot, one that was different. Let me try to get the catch. What could this be? Okay, there we go. Oh look! That's quite an aberration! It is a subscribe button. If you like videos like this in which I 100% games, or you like gaming challenges in general, make sure to subscribe to support us and keep up with our latest releases. I am working now on a Balatro Pokemon Nuzlocke style of video, yeah, that is right, and I am also 100%ing the next game, which some of you might or might not know. Anyways, back to the video. After our adventures in the Stellar Basin, we navigated to Twisted Strand, a weird jungle of muddy waters with a strange lovecraftian creature trying to destroy us at every step we made. I met there a veteran that was having a little PTSD phase, but he knew how to defeat the creature, and just like that, we teamed up and set up traps all over the region to kill the cursed beast. And yeah, I also got to fish lots of new fish while doing so. Back at the collector, he explained to me that the ritual was almost ready to be performed, and only one relic remained, located in the hardest area to navigate. Although he didn't indulge in a lot of information, he explained that the ritual was to bring her back, and talked about a loved one that he lost at the sea. At this point, it had become clear that this guy was incredibly sketchy, and there was something going on, but I decided to temporarily follow along to get to the bottom of it. Devil's Pine was, as the name would suggest, a diabolical place. Next to a sleepy volcano, the waters were treacherous and difficult to move through, and there were many dangers lurking in the darkness, waiting for the night to attack. I met a sort of fanatic on a strange island full of old statues, and he asked for assistance to perform a ritual, asking me to retrieve some ancient artifacts to light up the 3 statues on the island. I searched for every single item while also gathering the new fish species to fill up my encyclopedia, and I also encountered an old lighthouse, which seemed to have been in use a long time ago. After going back to the occultist, he started the ritual and suddenly burst into flames, dying engulfed by the fire. I couldn't do anything. He left behind the last relic, a cursed watch, and with that, I was now ready to go back to the collector and give it to him. But I was scared something terrible was about to unfold, and so I wanted to do some side missions first. I sailed through all the regions to get some fish species I hadn't caught yet. I upgraded my ship fully, getting another trophy for that. I helped a couple people with their needs, and overall had a blast finding cool operations and selling them in the market. There's just something about this gameplay loop that feels very addictive. Perhaps I was also falling to Dredge's curse, and I didn't know it. Look at how fast I go, boy! My pursuits were almost complete. I gave the strange hooded man lots of fish to eat, and I already had found 114 of the 151 fish from the base game. Hey, 151, just like Pokemon. I was missing mainly aberrations of fish I already caught, but these little fellas were hard to get, and I hadn't found a consistent method to get them. Yet. I spent the next hours trying to find the remaining fish, and during my hunts, I found an excellent method to bring the aberrations onto my ship. Do you remember that I told you that the collector gave us magical abilities for each relic we found and brought to him? Well, it is now time to unveil them, as they'll come into play. First we have Haste, which makes our boat go fast as fuck, boy, and escape the horrors of the sea. We also have Manifest, which teleports us instantly to Blackstone Isle, the collector's home. And most importantly, we have Atrophy, which depletes instantly a fish spot but guarantees every single time an aberration. You see where I'm going with this, right? Upon learning that mechanic, I went to the fish spots I needed and used atrophy to get all the aberrations that I was missing. It was a bit of a chore, sure, but I loved the Lovecraftian designs and was always thrilled to see what variation would come up in my net. And speaking of nets, one of the last fish I had to get was an Aurora jellyfish, which appears in the Stellar Basin. I swear to God I couldn't find one, until I learned, thanks to the encyclopedia, that it only appeared through trolls. And I gotta be honest with you, I had neglected that mechanic for quite some time. So I built a troll net, I installed it on the ship, and started cruising around Stellar Basin until I caught an Aurora jellyfish. So with that, only one last fish remained, and which one is it? Well, it is the rarer aberration variant of the Aurora jellyfish. Me. So here I go, once again, cruising for 10 minutes until I get the fucking aberration on my troll net. With that, we had completed the encyclopedia, and with every pursuit completed, or so I thought because I was missing some of them, I went to the Marrows for the last time. However, the lighthouse keeper approached me before I could go to Blackstone Isle, and she warned me about the book the collector had. I approached the manor and played dumb, until I found an opportunity and snatched the book out of the collector's hands, knowing it was too powerful and it had to be destroyed. Glass shattered, revealing the darkest truth of them all. There was no collector, there was just an old mirror hanging on the wall. I had gone delusional since I lost my wife to the sea, and was trying every bit I could to retrieve her. With this brief moment of lucidity, I returned to the lighthouse keeper, who told me that I should go back to the spot where the tragedy happened, to throw the book. I waited for nighttime and followed the lighthouse beam of light to a spot in the open ocean, and there something tragic occurred. I threw the book into the foaming water, the lights went out, and soon enough a giant leviathan of horrific proportions swallowed the ship whole, putting an end to the fisherman's journey. Okay, so that's one ending, but what about the other one? I need to see both of them to get the trophies. I need to 100% dredge, so let's go and follow the collector's plan. I once again went back to the manor, and this time I decided to follow through. I waited for nighttime and set sail to another spot in the ocean, this time to perform the forbidden ritual to try and bring her back. I threw each relic following the book instructions, a tempest roared in the distance, and from the murky waters a ghostly figure emerged in a green dress, floating towards the ship. However, the dormant giant squid living in the sea began to rise as well, revealing a horrendous humanoid face full of eyes and leaving us for an uncertain ending. And so that was Dredge. It ends a little bit open-ended, but sure, that has the Lovecrafting nature I like. So now what is left to do is just to complete it to 100%. And why do we need to get that? Well, as you will see, quite some stuff. It is DLC time, baby! A giant oil rig had appeared out of nowhere, and it is our troubled fisherman's responsibility to see if someone needs help over there. Also, now with the DLC installed, the encyclopedia has grown to 230 species of fish, including exotic fish variations and much more. The Iron Rig DLC was actually quite interesting. It followed the story of a fracking company and a mad scientist drilling the abyssal terrain to try and get to communicate with the giant beast dormant in Dredge's waters. As every supply cruiser had disappeared without a trace, it was my job to bring the construction materials to get the oil rig facilities going, and with that, new upgrades for the ship were available. Every single upgrade granted some trophies, the drill filled with oil some areas of the game as well, bringing new mechanics, and honestly, the whole journey was so much fun to play. I revisited each region to find new fish and progress through the story, and even I met again some characters like the scientist on the old fortress who had ties to the mad scientist on the old rig. After a lot of tribulations, the mad scientist became an aberration himself and jumped to the waters of the rig to try to join the dark beast lurking under. Just as I conspired with the rig workers to sabotage the drilling operation to avoid waking up that dormant beast, I managed to finally avoid getting us destroyed. It was a close call, but we managed to survive, and thanks to the new fish baits I could get done in the rig, I managed to capture every single new fish and the prized exotic aberrations. Next on my list was to navigate to the far lands of the Pale Ridge, a frozen place in which a crew 40 years ago vanished without a trace. There I found the trustworthy errant merchant fisherwoman, who helped me build an icebreaker for the ship. I navigated the frozen waters, finding the icy remainings of each member of the crew, begging me to liberate their voices and souls and to not follow the stars' gaze. Puzzled by this, I tricked the narwhal that lives in the region to open some paths up for me, and once I collected every single soul, I found a giant lovecraftian creature frozen with its 4 eyes opened, sending shivers down my spine. I liberated souls, and that seemed to calm the creature, sending it back to sleep. Its yellow and golden horn fell from the giant ice block, and in there, I dredged the Aurora's anchor, which would let me connect to places and teleport from them. Really useful for quick navigation. I hope I had that earlier. And with that, both DLCs were done and solved. To be honest, I preferred the Iron Rig a lot more than the Pale Ridge, as I found the latter a little bit lacking and a short experience. Too much short for my taste. With that, I only needed to complete a few more things to get this game to 100%. First, I needed to find the last 2 remaining fish I could get. One of them was quite a pickle, as I had to get an aberrant bait, go to the drill in the Iron Rig, and use Atrophy to recover the Mad Scientist, which had transformed to an abomination by this point. Next, I completed one last pursuit I forgot about in the base game, which involved the Purple Hooded Man, and with that, all base game pursuits, all Iron Rig pursuits, and all Pale Ridge pursuits were completed, granting me several trophies. I wandered the ocean for quite some time to get all my book's passive bonuses online, and then I got the last fish, completing the encyclopedia and getting another trophy. I then went to complete the last remaining stone monument puzzles to get the second to last trophy, and just like that, only one objective remained to complete this game to perfection, and that was to use Atrophy from a long distance. I thought at first that this meant that I needed to use Atrophy in a remote place, but later I discovered that no, it actually meant to use Atrophy far away from a fish spot. So I spammed it while approaching a fish spot, and as soon as it activated, bada bing, bada boom, I had completed Dredge to 100%. And what a journey, man! I love Dredge in a way I didn't expect. The setting and ambience is immaculate and on point, and I got engaged to its gameplay loop for enough time so I didn't find it a chore to go fishing around. The Pale Ridge DLC was a little bit disappointing, kind of a hit and miss. But overall, I would definitely recommend this game, and I'd also recommend it to 100% it if you might like that. This time, it was not a mistake to 100% it. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you want to keep seeing this type of content, and until we meet again.